I'm standing in my sister's driveway at 2:47 a.m., and my husband's car is parked right there under the willow tree where we used to build forts as kids. The engine is still warm when I touch the hood. My hand is shaking so badly I can barely hold my phone, but the GPS tracker doesn't lie. The little blue dot has been sitting at this exact location for the past 4 hours. The same tracker I installed 3 weeks ago when the late-night conference calls started. The same tracker that was supposed to prove me wrong, supposed to make me feel guilty for doubting him. But I'm not wrong. The living room light is on. I can see shadows moving behind the curtains. 2 shadows. Close together. Too close. I should leave. I should get back in my car and drive away and pretend I never saw this. But my feet are already moving up the walkway, past the garden gnomes our mother gave Ivy last Christmas, past the welcome mat that says, "Family First" in cursive letters. The spare key is still under the 3rd flower pot. Ivy never changed the hiding spot even after I warned her about burglars. The key slides into the lock without a sound. I turn it slowly. The door opens. And my entire world ends. Before we continue, please write in the comment which country you are watching this video. We love knowing where our global family is tuning in from. And if this is your first time on this channel, please subscribe. Your support helps us bring even more epic revenge tales of life. Enjoy listening. Let me take you back to where this really started. Not tonight. Not 3 weeks ago when I put that tracker on Daniel's car. But 6 months earlier when I was still stupid enough to believe in happy endings. My name is Rebecca Moore and I had everything. A husband who kissed me goodbye every morning. Sister who called me her best friend. A job I loved as a senior art director at a marketing firm downtown. A brick house in the suburbs with a garden I actually tended. At 33 I thought I'd figured out the secret to happiness. I was so incredibly wrong. Daniel and I met in college, one of those romantic comedy scenarios where he spilled coffee on my sketchbook in the library. He spent the next week trying to make it up to me, showing up with replacement art supplies and terrible jokes. He had this smile that made his whole face light up like he was genuinely thrilled just to be talking to you. We got married at 26 in a small ceremony by the lake. Ivy was my maid of honor. She cried during the vows. I should have noticed something was off last November. That's when Daniel's company started bidding on some big contract with a firm in Chicago. He worked in commercial real estate development, the kind of job that meant lots of meetings and site visits and networking dinners. I was used to him traveling. But this felt different. He started going to the gym at odd hours. He bought new cologne, something expensive and woody that he'd never worn before. He password protected his phone when he never had before. When I asked about it, he laughed it off. "Babe, we've been married 7 years. You really think I'm going to risk losing you?" He pulled me close and kissed my forehead. "You're paranoid." "It's cute." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. Ivy noticed I seemed stressed. She invited me over for wine and movies like we used to do in high school. We sat on her couch eating ice cream straight from the container, and I told her about my suspicions. "Daniel." She looked genuinely shocked. "Rebecca, that man worships you. I've never seen anyone look at someone the way he looks at you." "Then why is he being so secretive?" "Maybe he's planning a surprise. Your birthday is coming up, right?" He squeezed my hand. "Don't invent problems where there aren't any. You two are rock solid." I left her house feeling better. Ivy had always been the rational one, the one who talked me down from my anxiety spirals. She was 2 years younger but somehow seemed wiser about relationships. She'd gone through a bad divorce 3 years ago when her ex-husband Tom cheated on her with a coworker. If anyone understood betrayal, it was Ivy. That's what made this so much worse. The first real crack appeared in January. Daniel said he had to go to Chicago for a week to oversee some property inspections. He packed his bag Sunday night, kissed me goodbye Monday morning and promised to call every evening. He did call. Every night at 8 p.m. like clockwork. He told me about boring meetings and hotel room service and how much he missed me. His voice sounded normal. Loving even. But on Wednesday my college roommate Andrea posted a photo on social media. She was at a restaurant downtown, just a casual dinner photo with her husband. Nothing special. Except in the background, barely visible but definitely there, was Daniel. Sitting in a corner booth. With a woman whose back was to the camera. Their hands were clasped together on the table. I stared at that photo for an hour. I zoomed in until the pixels blurred. I checked the timestamp. 7:43 p.m. 17 minutes before he called me from Chicago. My hands were shaking when he called that night. I almost confronted him. The words were right there in my throat. But instead I heard myself say, "How was your day, honey?" "Exhausting," he sighed. "These property developers are demanding. But we're making progress. I'll be home Friday like I promised." "Can't wait," I said and hung up before he could hear me crying. I didn't tell Ivy. I didn't tell anyone. I needed proof first. Real, undeniable proof. That's when I bought the GPS tracker. A tiny magnetic device that stuck right under Daniel's rear bumper. It connected to an app on my phone and showed me his location in real time. It felt wrong, like I was violating his privacy, betraying our trust. But he'd already betrayed mine, hadn't he? The first few days showed nothing unusual. Home, office, gym, home. Normal patterns for a normal life. Then came the next business trip. "Chicago again?" I asked when he told me. We were having breakfast on a Saturday morning. He was reading something on his tablet, barely looking up. "Yeah, same contract. Should be 3 days this time. I leave Monday morning." "I'll miss you." "Miss you too, babe." He finally looked at me and smiled. That same smile that made me fall in love with him. Now it just made my stomach hurt. Monday morning I watched the blue dot on my phone. It headed downtown toward his office, stayed there until noon, then started moving. North on the highway. But not toward the airport. Not toward Chicago. Drove through the city. Through neighborhoods I recognized. Getting closer and closer to something impossible. The dot stopped at Ivy's house. It stayed there for 6 hours. I called Ivy. She answered on the third ring, slightly breathless. "Hey. What's up?" "Just checking in." "What are you doing today?" "Oh, just cleaning. Super boring." "How's work?" "Fine. Is everything okay?" "You sound weird." "Do I?" "Just out of breath from vacuuming." "Hey, can I call you back later? I'm kind of in the middle of something." "Sure. Love you." "Love you too, sis." She hung up. The blue dot didn't move until 8 p.m. Then it went to a hotel near the airport. Daniel called me at 8:30. "Hey babe, just landed. Long flight. I'm wiped out." "Get some rest," I said. "Call me tomorrow." That night I didn't sleep. I lay in our bed in the dark, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it. Maybe he stopped by Ivy's house to drop something off. Maybe she needed help with something. Maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation. But why would they both lie about it? I checked the tracker obsessively over the next month. 3 more business trips. 3 more stops at Ivy's house, each lasting 4 to 6 hours. And each time when I called my sister, she lied about being busy cleaning or running errands or having a quiet day at home. I started noticing other things. Small things that added up to something huge. Ivy canceling our weekly lunch dates last minute. "Sorry, something came up." Daniel coming home smelling like perfume. Not my perfume. When I asked, he said it must be from a client meeting. Finding long dark hairs in Daniel's car. Ivy had long dark hair. I was blonde. Text messages on Daniel's phone that disappeared. I saw them flash on his screen one night when he was in the shower. "Can't wait to see you again." From a contact labeled J. Reynolds with a briefcase emoji. But when I checked his phone later, the message was gone. The contact was gone. I felt like I was losing my mind. Like I was constructing an elaborate conspiracy theory out of coincidences. But the GPS didn't lie. The tracker showed me the truth even when everyone else was lying. I needed to see it with my own eyes. That's how I ended up in Ivy's driveway at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in March. Daniel had left Monday afternoon for another 3-day trip to Chicago. The blue dot went straight to Ivy's house and stayed there. All through the evening. Through dinner time. Through the night. I waited until after midnight. Then I drove across town to the neighborhood where we grew up, where Ivy still lived in the house our parents left her. And now I'm turning the key in her door. Now I'm stepping inside. Now I'm hearing sounds from upstairs that make me want to die. The stairs creak under my feet. I'm not trying to be quiet anymore. Some dark part of me wants them to hear me coming. Wants to see the panic on their faces when they realize they've been caught. The sounds get louder as I reach the second floor. I can hear Daniel's voice, low and intimate. I can hear Ivy laughing, that same laugh she's had since she was a kid, the one that used to make me laugh too. The bedroom door is slightly open. I push it wide. They're in bed together. Tangled in sheets that I recognize because I helped Ivy pick them out last year. Daniel's shirt is on the floor. Ivy's wearing one of his t-shirts, the one from our honeymoon in Hawaii. They both freeze when they see me. For a moment, nobody moves. Nobody breathes. We're all just frozen in this horrible tableau, this nightmare made real. Then Ivy screams. She scrambles backward, pulling the sheets up like they can protect her from what's happening. Daniel's face goes white. Rebecca. Jesus. What are you? What am I doing here? My voice doesn't sound like mine. It's cold and flat and dead. That's what you want to ask me. What I'm doing in my sister's house at 3 a.m, catching my husband in her bed. This isn't. Ivy starts, but I cut her off. Don't. I hold up my hand. Don't you dare say this isn't what it looks like. Don't insult me like that. Daniel gets out of bed. He's wearing boxers at least. Small mercies. He reaches for his jeans. Let me explain. Explain what? Explain that you've been lying to me for months? That every business trip was really a trip here? That while I was home alone worrying about you, you were here with my sister? Rebecca, please. Ivy's crying now. Tears streaming down her face. The same face that mirrors mine in so many ways. We have the same nose, the same shape to our eyes. People used to joke that we could be twins. I never meant for this to happen. You never meant for it to happen? I'm shouting now. I can't help it. 7 years of trust and love and loyalty are erupting out of me like a volcano. Which part? The part where you started sleeping with my husband? Or the part where you looked me in the eye week after week and lied to my face? It started so innocently. She's sobbing harder. He came over to help me fix my sink in November. We were just talking and what? You just fell into bed together? Is that how it works? Daniel finally speaks. His voice is quiet. Broken. I love her, Rebecca. Those 4 words hit me harder than anything else could have. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I made a mistake. But, I love her. How long? I ask. How long has this been going on? They look at each other. Some silent communication passing between them. Finally Daniel says, 6 months. 6 months. Half a year. While I was planning our anniversary dinner. While I was bragging about my perfect marriage to my coworkers. While I was defending him to my own gut instincts. Did you ever love me? I ask him. Was any of it real? Of course I loved you. I do love you. But Rebecca, we've been growing apart for years. You have to have felt it too. Don't do that. Don't make this my fault because I didn't notice you growing apart while you were busy growing into my sister. Ivy flinches. That's not fair. Not fair. I turn on her. You want to talk about fair? You cried on my shoulder when Tom cheated on you. You told me you'd never trust anyone again. You said betrayal was the worst pain you'd ever felt. And then you did the exact same thing to me. Worse even because you're my sister. I know. Her voice is tiny. I know, and I hate myself for it. But Rebecca, what Daniel and I have, it's real. It's not just an affair. We're in love. In love. I laugh, and it sounds unhinged even to my own ears. How romantic. Did you fall in love while you were lying to me? Did it make it more exciting sneaking around behind my back? We never wanted to hurt you, Daniel says. But you did. You destroyed me. Both of you. You took everything I believed in and set it on fire. I look at them standing there side by side now. Daniel has his arm around Ivy's shoulders. Protecting her. From me. His wife. Ex-wife, I realize. Because this marriage is over. It was over the second he decided my sister was worth more than his vows. I want you out of my house, I tell Daniel. Tonight. Pack your things and leave. We'll deal with the lawyers tomorrow. Rebecca, can we please just talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Now live with it. I turn to Ivy. My baby sister. The girl I protected from bullies in elementary school. The teenager I stayed up with through her first heartbreak. The woman I held when her marriage fell apart. I never want to see you again, I tell her. You're dead to me. Rebecca, please. She reaches for me, but I step back. Don't touch me. Don't call me. Don't come to my house. You wanted Daniel. You got him. I hope it was worth losing your sister. I walk out of that room. Down the stairs. Out the door. I make it to my car before the tears come. I sit in the driveway and scream until my throat is raw. I hit the steering wheel over and over until my hands hurt. I cry so hard I can't breathe. Eventually I drive home. The house is dark and empty and wrong. Everything is wrong now. I walk through rooms that used to feel safe and see only lies. The couch where Daniel would hold me while we watched movies. The kitchen where we'd cook dinner together on Sundays. The bed we'd made love in just last week, while he was already planning his next trip to Ivy's house. I don't sleep. I sit in the dark living room and watch the sun come up, and I realize something. Being devastated isn't enough. I want them to hurt the way they hurt me. People think revenge is hot and impulsive. That you plot it in a rage, blinded by anger. But real revenge is cold. It takes patience. It takes clarity. I spent the first week being a mess. I called in sick to work. I cried until I thought I'd never stop. I let myself feel every ounce of the pain they'd caused me. Daniel moved out like I'd demanded. He came by with his brother to pack his things while I sat in a coffee shop across town, unable to watch. He left his key on the kitchen counter. He left 7 years of marriage in cardboard boxes. He tried calling. Dozens of times. I didn't answer. Ivy tried calling too. She sent texts. Long paragraphs about how sorry she was, how she never meant for this to happen, how she hoped someday I could forgive her. I blocked her number. But I didn't block Daniel's. I wanted him to be able to reach me. Because I was already forming a plan. The second week I got angry. Not screaming, throwing things angry. Cold, calculating angry. The kind of anger that clears your head and sharpens your focus. I started doing research. Daniel's company was publicly traded, which meant their financial information was available if you knew where to look. I spent hours going through SEC filings and annual reports. I learned about the Chicago contract he'd supposedly been working on. Turns out it was real, but his involvement was minimal. He'd been using it as cover for his affair. But there was something more interesting in those reports. Daniel's division had been underperforming for 2 years. They were at risk of layoffs. He was walking a tightrope at work, trying to prove his value to the company. That gave me an idea. I also started looking into Ivy's life. My sister worked as a physical therapist at a rehabilitation center. She was good at her job, well liked by her patients. She volunteered at an animal shelter on weekends. Everyone thought she was sweet and caring and kind. Nobody knew she was a liar and a homewrecker. The third week I started executing my plan. Step 1 was reaching out to Daniel. I unblocked him and sent a text. We need to talk about the divorce. Can we meet for coffee? He called immediately. Rebecca. Thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I know. I wasn't ready before. But we need to handle this like adults. We have assets to divide, paperwork to file. Of course. Yes. Whatever you need. He sounded relieved. Like maybe this would be easier than he thought. When do you want to meet? Saturday. That place downtown where we had our first date. Remember? Pause. I remember. 2 o'clock. I'll be there. I hung up and smiled for the first time in 3 weeks. Saturday came. I dressed carefully. Not too casual, not too formal. I wanted to look like I was holding it together. Like I was mature enough to handle this situation with grace. Daniel was already at the coffee shop when I arrived. He stood when he saw me, uncertain whether to hug me or not. I solved the problem by sitting down immediately. Thanks for meeting me, I said. Of course. Bye. I don't even know where to start apologizing. Don't. I don't want apologies. I want to move forward. He looked surprised. Really? What else can I do? You love Ivy. He loves you. I can't change that. Fighting it will just make everything messier and more painful. That's very mature of you. I've had time to think, and I realized something. Maybe you were right. Maybe we had been growing apart. I was so focused on my career and you were dealing with stress at work. We stopped connecting. I never blamed you. I know. But relationships take 2 people. We both let things slip. The lies tasted bitter on my tongue, but I forced them out. I want you to be happy, Daniel. Even if it's not with me. His eyes were getting wet. You don't know how much that means to me. I never wanted to hurt you. I know. More lies. So let's make this clean. No fighting, no lawyers draining our accounts. We'll split everything 50-50. File for an uncontested divorce. Be done with it. Are you sure? I'm sure. I just want to move on with my life. We spent the next hour discussing logistics. The house would be sold and we'd split the proceeds. Same with our savings accounts and investments. He could keep his car, I'd keep mine. Simple and civil. What about Ivy? He finally asked. Have you talked to her? No. And I probably won't for a while. But I don't hate her, Daniel. I'm hurt, but I understand. Sometimes feelings just happen. You can't control who you love. The relief on his face was almost comical. You have no idea how worried I've been. Ivy's been a wreck. She misses you so much. Maybe eventually we can rebuild some kind of relationship. But not yet. It's too fresh. Of course. Take all the time you need. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Thank you for being so understanding. You're an incredible person, Rebecca. I'm sorry I was too stupid to appreciate that. I smiled and pulled my hand away. Water under the bridge. We parted ways outside the coffee shop. He hugged me and I let him. I even patted his back like we were old friends. Then I went home and threw up from the disgust of having to touch him. But step one was complete. I'd established myself as the reasonable one. The mature one. The one who wasn't going to cause problems. That's important for what came next. Step 2 involved a guy I'd met at a marketing conference 2 years ago. His name was Leo Brennan and he worked in corporate investigations. Background checks, due diligence, that sort of thing. But he also did less official work for people who needed information that wasn't exactly public record. I met him at a bar on Monday evening. Rebecca Moore, he said when he saw me. It's been a while. What can I do for you? I need information on someone. Very discreetly. Who? My husband. Soon-to-be ex-husband. Leo nodded slowly. I'm sorry. That's rough. What kind of information? Everything. Where he's really been the last 6 months. Who he's been talking to. Anything that might be interesting. You mean anything that might be useful in a divorce? Something like that. I'll need his full name, social security number if you have it, and a retainer fee. I slid an envelope across the table. Kish. Untraceable. Everything you need is in there. How long will it take? Give me 2 weeks. Perfect. Leo did good work. When he called me 2 weeks later, he had a file that made me smile for real this time. Turned out Daniel had been sloppy. He'd used his company credit card for hotel rooms. He'd sent personal emails from his work account. And most interesting, he'd been padding his expense reports, claiming the trips to see Ivy as business expenses when they clearly weren't. That was fraud. Against his own company. I had ammunition now. But I wasn't ready to use it yet. Step 3 was the hardest because it required me to face Ivy. I unblocked her number and sent a text. Can we talk? I'm not ready to forgive you yet, but maybe we can start to heal. She called within seconds. Rebecca. Oh my God, I can't believe you're reaching out. Yes, please, I'd love to talk. When? Come to the house. Tomorrow night. 7 o'clock. I'll be there. And Rebecca? Thank you. You don't know what this means to me. I knew exactly what it meant. It meant my trap was working. Ivy showed up at 7 on the dot, clutching a bottle of wine and a bouquet of sunflowers. My favorite flowers. He'd remembered. I didn't know if I should bring anything, she said when I opened the door. But I wanted to, I don't know, make some kind of gesture. Come in. We sat in the living room, awkward and stiff. She kept looking around like she was seeing the place for the first time. Maybe she was seeing it differently now, knowing what she'd done here, knowing whose home she'd helped destroy. How are you? She asked. I'm surviving. Some days are harder than others. I hate myself for what I did to you. Do you? I looked at her directly. Because you're still with him, aren't out? You're still choosing him over me. It's not that simple. It seems pretty simple to me. He started crying. I don't expect you to understand. What Daniel and I have. It's like nothing I've ever felt before. Not even with Tom. It's like we're two halves of the same person. I wanted to throw my wine glass at her face. Instead I said, tell me how it started. I need to understand. So she told me. Every painful detail. How Daniel had come over in November to help with her sink. How they'd started talking about relationships and marriage and feeling stuck. How he'd confided that he felt like we'd become roommates instead of lovers. How she'd admitted she felt lonely after her divorce. We didn't mean for it to go anywhere, she insisted. We were just friends at first. But then one night in December we were watching a movie here and he kissed me. And I kissed him back. And it felt so right, Rebecca. It felt like the universe was telling us this was meant to be. The universe, I repeated flatly. I know how it sounds. But you have to believe me, we tried to stop. We said it was a mistake. We didn't talk for 2 weeks. But then Christmas came and you invited me to dinner at your house and I saw him again and I realized I couldn't fight it anymore. So you decided to keep betraying me instead. I decided to follow my heart. He was crying harder now. Don't you see? This is real love, Rebecca. The kind people spend their whole lives searching for. I can't just walk away from that. I let her cry. Let her pour out all her rationalizations and justifications. Let her paint herself as some tragic romantic heroine instead of what she really was. A cheater and a liar. When she finally wound down, I said, I asked you here because I think we need to find a way to coexist. We're still sisters even if things are broken right now. And Daniel and I are getting divorced anyway, so you two can be together without the guilt. Her head snapped up. You're really getting divorced? We're filing the papers next week. Uncontested, clean split. And you're okay with that? I don't have much choice, do I? He loves you. You love him. Fighting it won't bring him back. She launched herself across the couch and hugged me. Thank you. Thank you so much for understanding. You're incredible, you know that? Not many people could be this gracious. I patted her back and fought the urge to shove her away. I just want everyone to be happy. We talked for another hour. She told me about her plans with Daniel. How they were thinking of moving in together officially. How they'd been talking about getting married eventually, maybe having kids. My kids. The ones Daniel and I had been planning to try for this year. Now he was going to have them with my sister. When she finally left, she hugged me again at the door. I love you, Rebecca. I hope you know that. You'll always be my sister. I know, I lied. The trap was set. Now I just had to spring it. Step 4 was the nuclear option. The one that would hurt them both exactly where it would hurt the most. I called Daniel's boss. His name was Harrison Pierce, Senior Vice President of Commercial Development. I'd met him at company events over the years. He'd always been polite to me, professional. Mrs. Moore, he said when his secretary put me through. What a surprise. How can I help you? I'm sorry to bother you at work, Mr. Pierce. But I have some information I think you should be aware of. It concerns Daniel's expense reports from the last 6 months. Pause. I'm listening. Daniel and I are getting divorced. In the process of separating our finances, I discovered some discrepancies. He's been billing the company for business trips that never happened. Hotel rooms, meals, travel costs. All fraudulent. That's a serious accusation. I have documentation. Bank statements, credit card records, GPS data. I can prove he was lying about where he was and what he was doing. He was using company money to finance a personal affair. Another pause, longer this time. Can you send me what you have? I'll email it within the hour. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Mrs. Moore. I assure you will investigate thoroughly. I sent him everything Leo had found. Dates and times and amounts. A paper trail that proved Daniel had been stealing from his company to pay for hotel rooms with my sister. Then I waited. It took 3 days. On Friday afternoon, Daniel called me. He was screaming. What did you do? What the hell did you do? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play stupid. They fired me, Rebecca. They fired me and they're pressing charges for fraud. They said someone sent them evidence. Who else could it have been? You committed fraud, Daniel. You stole from your company. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? I didn't steal. Those were legitimate business expenses. Were they? Because the GPS data says otherwise. You were never in Chicago. You were with Ivy. Silence. Then quietly, you tracked me. I tracked you. And I documented everything. And when you left me for my sister, I decided the company deserved to know what kind of employee they had. You vindictive. Careful what you say next. Remember, we're still married. I could make the divorce a lot messier if I wanted to. I'll fight this. I'll get a lawyer. I'll prove you're lying. Prove I'm lying with what evidence? The truth is on my side, Daniel. You committed fraud. You got caught. Now you're going to pay for it. He hung up on me. 20 minutes later, Ivy called. What did you do to him? He was crying. He lost his job, Rebecca. They're pressing criminal charges. He could go to jail. He committed a crime. Actions have consequences. You did this on purpose. You set him up. I didn't set him up. I just made sure the truth came out. He's the one who decided to lie and cheat and steal. This is because you can't stand seeing us happy. This is because he destroyed my life and I decided not to let him get away with it. If you really love him, Ivy, you'll stick by him through this. Isn't that what love means? He hung up on me too. I sat in my empty house and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, no triumph. Just cold, empty nothing. But I wasn't done yet. The criminal charges against Daniel moved slowly through the system. His lawyer got him out on bail, but he was looking at serious time. Fraud, embezzlement, theft from his employer. The company was making an example of him. He had to sell his car to pay legal fees. He moved into a cheap apartment across town. His reputation in the industry was destroyed. No one would hire him now. Ivy stood by him through it all. She posted supportive messages on social media. She went to court with him. She told everyone who would listen that he'd made a mistake, but he didn't deserve to have his whole life ruined. I watched it all from a distance. I'd blocked them both again, but I had friends who kept me updated. Who told me about Ivy draining her savings to help with Daniel's legal bills. About how the stress was affecting her work. About how they'd had to cancel their plans to move in together because Daniel couldn't afford rent. Part of me felt bad. A small part. But then I'd remember them in that bed together. I'd remember all the lies. I'd remember Daniel saying, "I love her," like it was that simple. And the guilt would disappear. 3 months after Daniel's arrest, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. "Rebecca? It's Tom. Ivy's ex-husband." I froze. "Tom? Why are you calling me?" "I heard about what happened. With Ivy and your husband. I wanted to reach out." "Why?" "We barely know each other. Because I think you should know something. Something about Ivy." "I'm listening." He took a breath. "When Ivy and I were married, she cheated on me. You know that. But what you don't know is that it wasn't the first time. She'd been having affairs our entire marriage. Multiple guys. She'd lie about working late or meeting friends, but she was really meeting them." My stomach dropped. "What?" "She has a pattern, Rebecca. She falls for guys who are unavailable. Married guys, guys with girlfriends. She likes the thrill of it. The sneaking around. And when she left me for that coworker, I thought maybe that was different. Maybe she'd really found love. But then a few months later, I heard she'd already moved on to someone else." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I saw her post about standing by Daniel through his legal troubles. About how their love is strong enough to survive anything. And I realized she's probably feeding him the same lines she fed me. That he's special. That what they have is different. That she's never felt this way before." "And you think she's lying?" "I think she's telling the truth in the moment. I think she genuinely believes it each time. But it never lasts. As soon as the excitement wears off, as soon as things get hard, she moves on to the next guy." I thanked him and hung up. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have. I created a fake social media account. A burner profile with a random name and stock photo. And I started investigating Ivy's online activity. It didn't take long to find what I was looking for. She'd been messaging someone. A guy named Kyle who worked at her rehabilitation center. The messages were flirty, crossing professional lines. Laughing emojis and inside jokes. Plans to grab drinks after work. This was recent. Within the last month. While Daniel was facing prison time and Ivy was supposedly standing by him. I took screenshots of everything. Then I called Leo again. "I need you to follow someone," I told him. "My sister. I want to know where she goes, who she meets. I'll pay double your usual rate." "This is getting messy, Rebecca." It was already messy. I'm just documenting the mess. Leo watched Ivy for 2 weeks. His reports were damning. She'd been meeting Kyle 3 times a week. Coffee shops, restaurants, once at his apartment. They'd hold hands under the table. They'd kiss in parking lots when they thought no one was watching. She was cheating on Daniel the same way she'd cheated with Daniel. I had photos. Timestamps. Evidence that would break Daniel's heart the way he'd broken mine. The question was, what did I do with it? Part of me wanted to send it to him immediately. Watch his world crumble the way mine had. Let him feel the betrayal, the humiliation, the rage. But another part of me wanted something more sophisticated. More devastating. I decided to wait. Daniel's trial was scheduled for July. 4 months away. In the meantime, Ivy continued seeing Kyle in secret. She continued posting about her devotion to Daniel. She continued playing the role of the supportive girlfriend. I continued documenting everything. Then in June something unexpected happened. Daniel reached out to me. Not through a call or text but through an email. Subject line, "I'm sorry." The email was long. Pages of apologies and explanations and self-flagellation. He said losing his job had given him time to reflect. That he realized how badly he'd hurt me. That he understood now that what he'd done to me was unforgivable. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," he wrote. "But I want you to know that I see clearly now. I destroyed something beautiful because I was selfish and weak. Ivy and it was exciting at first. The forbidden nature of it. But now that we're actually together, now that the affair is out in the open, it's different. Harder. She's not who I thought she was. And I'm realizing that what I gave up, what I threw away, was worth so much more than what I thought I was gaining." I read that email 5 times. He was having doubts. The fantasy was colliding with reality. And he was finally understanding what he'd lost. Too little too late. But it gave me an idea. I wrote back. "Thank you for the apology. It means more than you know. I've been doing a lot of reflecting too. I think we both made mistakes in our marriage. I wasn't as present as I should have been. We let ourselves drift apart instead of fighting for what we had." His response came within an hour. "Does this mean you might consider? I don't even know what I'm asking. But I miss you, Rebecca. I miss us. Let's talk," I wrote back. "After your trial is over. Whatever happens, we should at least get closure. Real closure. I'd like that." I was playing with fire. I knew it. But I couldn't help myself. Over the next month, Daniel and I exchanged emails. Nothing inappropriate. Just conversations about our marriage, our regrets, what we'd learned. He told me that things with Ivy were strained. That she'd been distant lately. That he was wondering if they'd rushed into things too fast. I was sympathetic. Understanding. I gave him hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. All while sitting on evidence that Ivy was cheating on him. The trial came. Daniel's lawyer managed to negotiate a plea deal. Instead of 5 years in prison, he'd get 18 months plus probation. Community service. A criminal record that would follow him forever. When the judge handed down the sentence, Ivy was in the courtroom. She held Daniel's hand and cried. Kyle was waiting for her in the parking lot when she left. Leo's cameras caught them kissing before she drove to the courthouse. The day after Daniel's sentencing, I sent him everything. Every screenshot. Every photo. Every report from Leo showing Ivy's affair with Kyle. Time-stamped, documented, undeniable. I included a note. "You asked me once if our marriage was real. If I ever loved you. Yes, Daniel. I loved you more than anything. And this is what you chose instead. Someone who's doing to you exactly what you did to me. I thought you deserved to know before you go to prison. I hope it was worth it." His response came hours later. A single line. "Oh God, what have I done?" I didn't write back. Daniel confronted Ivy that night. Leo wasn't there to document it, but I heard about it through mutual friends. Through the grapevine that connects everyone in a small social circle. He showed up at her house with printouts of everything I'd sent him. He threw them at her and demanded explanations. She denied it at first. Said the photos were doctored, that I was trying to destroy them. But there was too much evidence. Too many different occasions, too many witnesses. Eventually she broke down and admitted it. According to people who talked to Daniel afterward, her explanation was almost identical to what she told me about their affair. She didn't mean for it to happen. Kyle was just a friend at first. But then feelings developed. It felt right. The universe was telling her something. Daniel threw her own words back at her. The ones she'd used to justify what they did to me. "How does it feel?" he'd asked her. "How does it feel to be on this side of it?" She'd cried and begged him not to leave her. Said Kyle didn't mean anything. Said Daniel was the one she really loved. But Daniel was done. He packed up the few things he had at her place and left. Moved back into his cheap apartment. Alone. Ivy called me the next day. I'd unblocked her number specifically because I knew this was coming. "You did this," she screamed. "You hired someone to follow me. You set me up." "I didn't set you up, Ivy. I just documented what you were already doing. You made your own choices. You're trying to destroy my life. I'm just showing people who you really are. A liar." A cheater. Someone who destroys relationships for fun and then moves on when things get difficult. I loved him. I loved Daniel. Did you? Because you were sleeping with Kyle while Daniel was facing prison time. That's not love. That's selfishness. You're a monster, she sobbed. Maybe. But at least I'm not a hypocrite. She hung up. That was the last time we spoke. But I wasn't finished yet. I had one final move to make. I sent copies of everything to Ivy's workplace. The photos, the messages, the timeline showing her affair with a coworker while she was supposedly in a committed relationship. The rehabilitation center had strict policies about workplace relationships, especially ones that involved deception and using work time for personal affairs. Kyle had been Ivy's supervisor. What they were doing violated multiple ethical guidelines. An investigation was opened. Within 2 weeks, both Ivy and Kyle were fired. Ivy tried to fight it. Tried to claim I was harassing her, stalking her, making her life hell because of jealousy. But the evidence was clear. She'd broken workplace rules. She'd lied to HR when asked about her relationship with Kyle. She'd compromised patient care by sneaking off during work hours. She lost her job, her reputation, her income. And without her job, she couldn't afford her house. The house our parents had left her. She had to sell it. Everything she'd built, everything she'd taken for granted came crashing down. 6 months later, I was sitting in a coffee shop downtown when I saw him. Daniel. He looked different. Thinner. Older. Worn down by prison time and regret. He'd been released early for good behavior, but the experience had clearly changed him. He saw me at the same moment. For a second I thought he might turn and leave. But instead he walked over. "Can I sit?" he asked. Free country. He sat across from me, clutching his own coffee like a lifeline. We didn't speak for a long moment. Finally he said, "I know you hate me. You have every right to. But I need to say something. So say it. You were right. About everything. Ivy wasn't who I thought she was. And what I did to you, there's no excuse. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was bored and selfish and stupid. Yes, you did. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I want you to know that I understand now. What I put you through. The betrayal, the humiliation. Ivy did the same thing to me and it nearly killed me. So I can't even imagine how you survived it. I survived it by making sure you both paid for what you did." He nodded slowly. "I know. The job, the trial, sending me evidence of Ivy's affair. That was all you." "Yes. Was it worth it? Did revenge make you feel better?" I thought about that question. Really thought about it. "No," I admitted. "It didn't make me feel better. But it made me feel like I had some control. Like I wasn't just a victim." I hit back. "And maybe that makes me a terrible person, but I don't regret it." "I don't think you're terrible. I think you're hurt. And I'm the one who hurt you. You and Ivy both." "Have you talked to her?" "No. And I never will. She's dead to me." He looked sad at that. "She's struggling. Lost her job, her house. She's living with a friend now, working retail. Kyle dumped her as soon as she got fired." "Good. Rebecca. Don't defend her to me, Daniel. Don't tell me I should forgive her or feel sorry for her. She made her choices. She chose excitement over loyalty. Lies over truth. She chose to destroy our family for a fantasy. And when that fantasy with you got hard, she did it again with Kyle. She doesn't deserve my sympathy." "You're right," he said quietly. "You're absolutely right." We sat in silence again. Then Daniel said something that surprised me. "I'm moving. To another state. Starting over. I can't stay here anymore. Everything reminds me of what I lost. Who I used to be before I ruined everything. Probably for the best. I know this doesn't mean anything coming from me, but I hope you find happiness, Rebecca. Real happiness. With someone who deserves you. I hope you find peace," I said. And I meant it. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. But I hoped he could somehow move past what he'd done. Carry the weight of it without being crushed by it. He stood to leave. Hesitated. Do you think people can change? Really change?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I think they can learn. They can grow. They can choose to be better than they were. That's what I'm going to try to do." He left. I watched him walk away, this man I'd loved for 7 years. This stranger who'd destroyed everything. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no lingering love. Just a vast emptiness where he used to be. But emptiness wasn't the worst thing. Emptiness could be filled with something new. I'm standing in my new apartment, smaller than the house Daniel and I shared, but mine in a way that house never was. The walls are painted a soft blue I chose myself. The furniture is new, unburdened by memories. The art is all pieces I created. I'd started painting again after everything fell apart. A hobby from college I'd abandoned once I got too busy with work and marriage. My phone rings. It's my therapist confirming our appointment next week. I've been seeing her for 8 months now, working through the betrayal and the rage and the person I became in pursuit of revenge. You did what you needed to survive, she told me in one session. But holding on to anger will only hurt you in the end. Not them. You. He was right. The revenge had felt good in the moment. Watching them suffer, watching them lose everything the way I'd lost everything. But it didn't heal me. It didn't make me whole again. What made me whole was time. Therapy. Rebuilding my life piece by piece. Reconnecting with friends I'd neglected during my marriage. Throwing myself into my work and getting promoted to creative director. Traveling alone to places I'd always wanted to see. Learning that I didn't need a partner or a sister to be complete. I heard through mutual friends that Daniel really did move away. Colorado, someone said. He got a job in construction, something far removed from his old corporate life. He's apparently doing better. Working on himself. Ivy is still in town. Still working retail, still struggling. Someone told me she's dating again, some guy she met at a bar. I wonder if she learned anything. If she ever looked in the mirror and saw herself clearly. If she understood that the pattern would keep repeating until she dealt with whatever was broken inside her. I don't think about them much anymore. When I do, it's with a distant kind of curiosity, like wondering about characters in a book I read years ago. The doorbell rings. I check my phone. It's 7 o'clock on the dot. His name is James. I met him at an art gallery 3 months ago. He's an architect, divorced 2 years ago with a daughter he adores. We've been taking things slow. Learning each other. Building trust carefully, brick by brick. When I told him about Daniel and Ivy, about the affair and the revenge and the destruction I'd caused, I expected him to run. But he just looked at me thoughtfully and said, "You were hurt and you fought back. I can't judge you for that. We all have things in our past we're not proud of." I open the door. James is holding flowers, daisies not roses, and smiling. "Ready for dinner?" he asks. "Ready." We walk to his car and I don't look back at my apartment, at this symbol of my new life. I look forward at whatever comes next. Because here's what I learned from all of this. Revenge doesn't heal you. It doesn't make the pain go away or bring back what you lost. But it can give you space to breathe, to grieve, to eventually move on. Daniel and Ivy destroyed me. Then I destroyed them. And in the rubble of all that destruction I found myself again. Not the woman I was before. That Rebecca is gone forever. But someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who knows exactly what she will and won't tolerate. Someone who understands that trust is earned, not given. Someone who won't ever again ignore her instincts or make herself small to keep the peace. The old Rebecca would have stayed silent. Would have blamed herself. Would have tried to fix a marriage that was already dead. The new Rebecca knows better. And if I had to go through hell to become her, if I had to burn everything down and watch them burn too, then so be it. Some people might call me vindictive. A monster who went too far. But I call myself a survivor. And I'm okay with that. The GPS tracker sits in a drawer in my apartment. I keep it as a reminder. Not of Daniel or Ivy, but of the moment I stopped being a victim and became something else entirely. Sometimes late at night when I can't sleep, I take it out and hold it. This tiny piece of technology that revealed the truth. That gave me power when I felt powerless. I think about alternative timelines. What if I'd never put that tracker on Daniel's car? What if I'd stayed ignorant, stayed married to a man who loved my sister? What if I'd confronted them that first time I suspected and they'd gaslit me, convinced me I was paranoid? But I didn't stay ignorant. I didn't let them make me doubt my own instincts. I saw the truth. And I made sure they paid for it. People always want to know, do I regret it? Do I wish I'd taken the high road, let karma handle them naturally, moved on with grace and dignity? No. Because the high road would have left them together. Would have let them build a life on the ruins of mine. Would have taught them that betrayal has no consequences, that they could hurt people and get away with it. Instead, they both learned that actions have consequences. That you can't destroy someone's life and expect to keep yours intact. And if that makes me the villain of this story, I'll wear that crown proudly. Because villains get revenge. And revenge, cold and calculated and perfectly executed, is its own kind of justice.